The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
You're back with David Mickey's Shiny Side Out on freedomslips.com on the #1 listener-supported talk radio on the net. So push the donate button or subscribe to the archives. You can do that through Patreon and get access to those. You can download her shows, that's Solaris, our shows, all the host shows if you do that. And you get yourself some great merchandise from the station's website. There's options. You can get a CD of your favorite host shows. It may be an EMP-proof thumb drive with survival documents or a 75,000 pack of seeds. You could just, follow the instructions carefully. You're listening to Revolution Radio. We're halfway through show number 492.
290 and 400. That's right. And it's a lot.
Absolutely right. It's a lot. And this is part 5 in the series of the ET question, A Rational Approach. Now, in the prior shows, you probably want to catch up with those. And we spoke about the Drake equation, the Fermi paradox. We've given examples prior to today's show where we're now all the way at. We gave examples of what a civilization might do if they were here. We spoke last week, Mackie, briefly on the technology that appears like it is unchanged over the 70 years or more in the modern times. But when you go back to the mid-15th century, when a battle appeared to take place over Middle Europe, where there were like cylinders and spheres, and the people observed as best they could something where they could identify who was winning in the battle. They didn't know what they were, but a battle was taking place and they could identify a winner and a loser. That's something. Yeah, whether they live underneath or within the earth or under the oceans, or they're on a neighboring planet, possibly the moon or otherwise. Whether the question has to be raised whether they're interstellar craft we see or just local craft. Who knows whether a mothership full of local craft is here? Maybe it's like District 9. Maybe they don't know how to manufacture a brand new kit. Maybe they reach the pinnacle of their designs and they'll never need to change. There's so many kind of slight variations on the design. Just slight enough for there to be, like cars, not hot rods, but, if you look amongst all the vehicles we use on the roads today, yeah, compared to 30 years ago, they've changed. But imagine if you looked on the road and you couldn't tell what year the car was made because they're all the same. But there's only slight variations to all of them in size and shape. If that's what we're looking at here, then that raises the question, maybe they're not, interstellar. Maybe they're not even from the neighboring star, but only from our own solar system. Maybe they don't have the tech to advance it anymore. And I think these are really good conversations to have, given and rolling off the back of finally the US government, not being the first, mind you, but being the last in the queue to have conceded to the footage being legitimate.
Yep.
These are things in the sky that we don't know about. They do behave in waves, just to repeat this, they do behave in ways that don't exhibit regular flight characteristics, which would require a tail or ailerons or wings or propulsion of some kind. They appear to be silent, like noiseless. They can appear to pop in and pop out of our reality. Maybe they're interdimensional. Maybe they just have cloaks, like the warbirds from Star Trek, right? The Klingon warbirds. Maybe they can withstand pressures at the bottom of the ocean. Maybe they came from a water planet initially. Maybe they saw, well, these are all the maybes, right? Maybe they saw the nuclear weapons show of the 2000 that we've let off in the atmosphere of this planet, already 2000, thought, holy dooly, there's a war going on. Turns up, they're not worried now, and just practicing with their weapons. Well, we'll stay for the show. Maybe they were already here. Maybe they've been here since the dinosaurs. Maybe they're the reptilian skin version of what NASA, organized or commissioned a research project into. What would the dinosaurs look like today if they'd sort of turned bipedal? What would they turn out to be? They actually designed it. It was a thing, right? So, look, what about, was it section 13 in the firefighter's handbook is downed UFO. What to do in case it is real, Becky. In a firefighter's handbook, there's the whole section there that talks about how you should behave, what you should do, what you should be careful of. If it wasn't real, why would it be in there? If they don't have a blob, what happens when the blob lands? Right? The zombie apocalypse isn't mentioned in there. We all would like it to kind of happen, because then you can get all those tools out of your shed, the machete, get that sharpened up, right? Baseball bat with a nail in it, Woody Harrelson. But because it's now been admitted that there are things we don't know about in the sky, that you can fly about across controlled airspace with impunity. That has to be recognized, and it's now openly recognized as a thing. And you know what? We're having this discussion again. I know I've experienced a lot of paranormal activity, and I was kind of glad to hear it. And for all of those people who would be listening to the show, maybe for the first time, first time you've heard me say it, if you've got your own experience, history with anything paranormal, did you feel the kind of relief that I felt? Yeah, where I kind of, I truly aren't. I'm not completely crazy, right?
Dave, I didn't. You know why? Because I always knew how to. I never had any doubt. Let me put it that way. I never had any doubt whatsoever in any of the things that I think are in fact real, ever. Now, I can imagine why you would feel like, oh, what I experienced is actually real and I'm not crazy. It's wonderful, right? I get it. But I honestly can say to you, I've never had a single doubt in my mind.
Likewise.
And to be honest with you, if the Tic Tac had come along or not, wouldn't make a difference to me. Now, though, I don't have to waste my time. That was the relief I felt. I no longer have to waste my time to say, guys, the UFO or UAP phenomenon is real. It's real. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's swamp gas. Okay. I don't have to have that conversation anymore.
Oh, thank heavens.
Now we can focus on, well, what do we think it is? We know what it isn't, guys. We don't know what it is, right? So all the things that we know, it's not that. Okay, it must be something beyond our understanding. And that's
Are you surprised, though? I have to say, in the conversations where you've explained to someone that the Pentagon has admitted this, and they go, so, and you go, well, what do you think it means? I don't care, to be honest. I don't want to give it at the time of day. Why would I bother even looking into it? But what do you think about aliens? What, from the movies? No, I mean the possibility of alien life being out there. I always thought there was, but that's it. That's the amount of effort that there's. Even though this report has been released, there still isn't a whole ton of people going, "Oh, great! I'm just going to set my whole life aside." I remember, like the original Brookings report said, "I'm not going to work again. Screw that. I'm going to do nothing because aliens are real." Right?
See,
Even though they didn't say aliens and they didn't say real, they just scrubbed away a little bit of the opacity.
But
to make it clearer.
If this kind of information had come to us in the 1940s or the 1950s, it would have significantly changed people.
Mm-hmm.
Because people then didn't have the news cycle that we have today. We didn't have the the speed of information coming through, the volume of information, et cetera, et cetera. None of that. Now, over the last 70 years, we have become completely desensitized to any information of this nature. And this is in part due to the fact that our special effects are phenomenal these days.
Seamless.
Imagine, the people that grew up with the original Star Trek and the original Doctor Who, all very camp. I love it. I mean, I love it, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a guy in a tin can, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But these days, if you look at the
imagine putting on television back to back Star Trek and then I don't know, something simple, District 9.
Yeah.
Because District 9, simple, low budget, but I'll tell you, there's effects that are so seamless, you can't tell they're effects.
Yeah.
And they'd be going, "Oh my God, it's real."
Yeah, and that is really the point here, and through media, entertainment, movies, television shows, music, even art, but also games and computer games really took off in the mid-90s and then have taken over the world by storm in the 2000s, where literally every teenager that has access to a computer plays a computer game, and a lot of them are phenomenal world-building kind of scenarios where you battle aliens and monsters, and it doesn't really surprise you that much anymore. And the TV shows have become increasingly more realistic as well. Back in the 1940s and 50s, when somebody got shot, they would go, they crunch up and they fall down, right? There's no blood. There was no reality to those killings.
Yeah.
I'm talking about movies and such, right? Now,
Saving Private Ryan.
Hyper real. It's hyper real. And that's what's happened. We have, and I believe this is deliberate. We have prepared mentally everybody for pretty much anything, right?
Yeah.
Short of a extinction level event, mind you, but everything else. I mean, we look
Survivor,
at
Mickey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Survivor and Naked and Afraid. I think they're preparing people for an existence without anything, like a start again existence.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is also a thematic thing. With the most popular show on television in America today is The Walking Dead, by bar none, right?
Yeah.
Which is exactly that as well. Survivor in the extreme, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is a generational thing that now that you and I, and then certainly our children and people that were born around the millennial mark, are much better prepared to deal with these kinds of changes. And in fact, it's almost a move away from traditional values. You see the millennials like downsizing and moving away from I guess driven careers to what's my purpose in life type stuff. So if tomorrow for argument's sake the inner earthers came out, or the moon was set finally proven to be hollow, or whatever any of those things, okay, fair enough. I mean, because even scientists these days, I mean, look at because people are a lot more aware of quantum physics and relativity, because it's part of their life. It's part of the movies, entertainment they watch, right? Hard science. You look at the movies that are coming out. You look at the TV shows that are coming out. They include a lot of hard science, and that hard science is completely how can I put this best? It's bonkers. It is insane and it doesn't make any sense, but it's openly talked about. Okay, we don't know a lot of the stuff. I mean, we don't know where 98% of the freaking universe is. Right? And that's why we've got dark matter and dark energy. Where are these? Where's the 98% that we need for our math to work? Where is it? And people are aware of this now as well, right?
I know.
In the old days, they wouldn't. So there's a lot more. I think people are a lot more able to accept it. At the same time, though, we see the opposite, where people are becoming a lot less able to intellectually work it through, be it through bad diet or bad education or whatever it might be. So it's a really very strange time. You've got both ends of the spectrum, and the potential is there also for both, right? I believe that educated people and people that are interested in life in general and keep themselves informed, they would not be surprised by anything the universe throws at them. I don't think there would be many surprised, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole other cabal though of people that would be completely destroyed by it still, because as we open up our aperture, right, the only certainty we have is that the universe is uncertain. I mean, a lot of people obviously feel uncomfortable with that, and therefore they like to dig in. They like to go back to basics, back to fundamentals. That's why you've got the polarization of people, right? I have my opinion, and therefore your opinion is wrong, right? And we see this, and globalization has brought that out as well. The more we are moving toward globalization, the more we see the splintering of nation states into smaller and smaller entities. I mean, there's more countries today than when I was born.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, because the people. I mean, look at the breakdown of Yugoslavia.
Yeah,
the breakup of even the Sudan. You look at Iraq. You look at
the USSR as well. Yeah,
USSR, the biggest one, absolutely, my friend. These are all splintering up. Yemen, right? So all these countries, they're fractioning. In Spain, you've got the Basque movement wants to separate, and you've got the escapes me now. There in Barcelona. I can't think of it now. I was actually there when the protests happened. Anyway, but the point is, people are becoming more and more aware of their uniqueness, and they want to preserve that uniqueness, right? And against all outside forces. So it's a really interesting time we're inhabiting now. And again, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Please watch The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, season 1 and 2. You must. And I'm not a shill for the show. I'm not getting any money for it. You can believe me. But it is certainly, if you're at all interested in any of what we're discussing here, you must watch it. You must go and see what they are. And this is the first time. Ed Bigelow, the space billionaire. Okay, he was there for 20 years. 20 years, 1996 to 2016. That's how long he had it. He bought it from the Shermans. He bought the ranch from the Shermans in '96 when the Shermans said, I can't live here anymore. I can't raise cattle. I'm getting the hoot out of here. Can't do it. Can't deal with it. So Ed Bigelow was there, and his NIDS group, the scientists, they're all there. They're trying to study the phenomena, and they walked away. Now he might have found a lot of things, right? Potentially, but he has not disclosed any of it. This group of scientists that have been at it for a couple of years now, they're disclosing everything. Everything is just out there. Here you go. What do you think? And they've made some astounding discoveries. Okay, forget Tic Tac. You think Tic Tac was impressive? Watch that show. And the greatest regret I have, Dave, is that I'm not there. That I'm not in a position where I would be useful to that group of people to do anything, right?
Yeah.
That is my single biggest regret, that I cannot be part front and center, and no matter the risk that you take, and people were injured there. People have sustained very strange radiation burns, very strange swellings, cranial swellings, after being exposed to very very strong doses of radiation, electromagnetic as well as radioactive, etc., etc. So that is a thing. It's a thing. And they've got the X-rays, they've got the pictures of the burns. It's all there. And the phenomena they captured on film, because that's a great thing. They got a film crew there, or several film crews that goes around as they conduct these experiments. They're talking to all the people that were involved before. If you're at all interested in this show cycle, right? the rational approach to the UFO phenomenon, you must do yourself a favor and watch that series. And right now, I imagine they would be shooting the third season because they can only do it in summer, a few months of summer, because apparently in Utah in winter it becomes quite inhospitable. So it's very hard to shoot a documentary and still guarantee everybody's safety. So they've only really got June, July, August, September, I guess, time frame. Then it goes into post-production, and it's usually gets to May, April, June time frame. April, May, June time frame. That's when it comes out. So I'm looking forward to that. But look, so the question that we then asked Dave was, well, if let's say, they've always been here, because I believe that they have, and this phenomenon has been with us for thousands of years. It makes a lot of sense to assume that a parallel civilization or civilizations are in fact here with us. And as Dave has earlier said, be it in here, underground, underwater, on the moon, on Mars, maybe in the asteroid belt, who knows? And possibly even in touch with an intergalactic civilization still, interstellar, etc. So it's all out there. And we are just like I said earlier, we're just the developing nations on the surface of the earth, not really consequential. Who cares? I mean, the thing is this: nobody consults with the Amazonian tribesmen or the Kalahari Bushmen when it comes to going to the moon or launching nuclear weapons on little atolls in the Pacific, right? They're not being asked.
Yeah.
No one is asking us either.
In fact, they didn't. They didn't ask the people in those atolls. They just moved them out.
And then they moved them back in.
They did move them back in, and that was devastating for them. And they actually secretly tested to see what would happen to their bodies as they became, exposed to radiation. Just a tragedy.
Yeah, some horrendous things that took place. And I mean, anyway. But so where then could, the thing is this: we looked at the so do I believe the Earth is hollow Earth theory? No, I do not. I do not subscribe to the hollow Earth theory. What I do subscribe to, though, is the possibility that there are massive, either natural or made cavern systems, massive, right? Massive, and we know they exist. Because we did it. The Nazis did a lot of it.
Yeah,
it's up to 100%, right? The Nazis did a lot, as we know. When they built, the factories underground so they couldn't be bombed. Others have done it. We know that massive cave systems in Turkey, interestingly enough,
and
where entire tens of thousands of people. Yeah, Africa, tens of thousands of people lived underground, right? We know that I think the Hopi Indians, as you said last time as well.
That's right. The ant people.
Yeah, they came from under the ground after the last cataclysm, etc.
Smooth-walled tunnels underground have been intersected by other drilling works, and they've stumbled upon these things going, what?
Yeah, exactly.
A technology we don't have. We use drills and explosives, but this seemed to be cut like glass, and melted like it's smooth and crazy, right? So a lot of tales.
Yeah. Now, which brings us to today's show, after a long preamble, which is important though. So, and this is talking about the hollow Earth theory, from ancient civilizations to modern research and as researchers and explorers. And the reason it's here is because, what is there any evidence at all for anything going on underground? Is there? Is this just all just nonsense, or is there in fact something substantive that we can put our hand or fingers upon and go, okay, well, there is something here. Now, if you could choose to explore the furthest reaches of outer space or the deepest depths of the Earth, which would you choose? Now, before you answer this, consider the following. Some believe there's much more to the inner Earth than rock and molten lava. Supporters of the hollow Earth theory, also known as the inner Earth theory, posit traveling to the depths of the Earth would lead to other environments, and perhaps even human beings residing there, and maybe not just human beings. Sounds intriguing. Take a look at the many groups of people who believe in or even research hollow Earth and decide for yourself what the Earth's interior may have to offer for those who dare to explore it. What is the hollow Earth theory? In a nutshell, the idea for hollow Earth posits that planet Earth is either wholly hollow or otherwise contains a substantial interior space, which is really what I subscribe to, the substantial interior spaces, rather than a complete hollow. Beliefs about the specifics of the inner Earth, vary, but generally revolve around underground civilizations, technological and spiritual advancements, and alternative, even paradise-like environments. Supporters of this theory claim evidence to support has been stifled by scientific communities, such as NASA, for example. Why don't you take us through the ancient Indian beliefs about inner Earth, Dave?
Yeah, sure. Some support for the hollow Earth theory comes from two ancient Indian groups. What's that called, Mackie?
I think it's the 𝐫𝐞𝐯.
𝐫𝐞𝐯, yeah, Indians and the Hopi Indians. The 𝐫𝐞𝐯, for want of a better, what am I looking for? My poor brain. Anyway, the 𝐫𝐞𝐯 claim that a vast network of tunnels connects our world to the mysterious chambers located under the surface. The indigenous group residing in the Amazonian countries of Brazil, Guyana, and Venezuela have legends in their oral tradition that speak of an entrance to the earth. They mention entering a cavern and traveling 13 to 15 days until they reach the earth's interior, which is said to be where giants live. The 𝐫𝐞𝐯 legends name the giants as the protectors of the inner earth. The Hopi Indians, alongside with the 𝐫𝐞𝐯, the Hopi Indians also profess they emerged from an underground shelter after the flood destroyed the third world. They believe their ancestors derived from this environment. The Hopi culture, they specifically reference emerging from the Grand Canyon and also mention mysterious ant-like gods and flying shields. Is there proof about hollow earth? And do you want to take that one?
Sure, yeah. Explorations by various individuals throughout history brought about discoveries that support the inner Earth theory, and this is probably one of the most famous ones here. Admiral Richard E. Byrd, and we've spoken about him a lot, everybody, of course, as you remember, of the United States Navy flew to the North Pole in 1926, as well as to the South Pole in 1929. He referenced the North Pole as the center of the great unknown and also wrote of his excursions in his diary. In his descriptions, he references allegedly entering the hollow interior of the Earth, which included mountains, lakes, and rivers, as well as animals and vegetation. He also reports finding cities, civilization, and emissaries of the inner Earth civilization called Agartha. More research about this excursion mentioned that Byrd found Neuschwabenland, which featured underground caverns flowing with warm water and signs of vegetation. But neither he nor his crew could stay long to explore due to the aircraft bombardment. Other individuals are also said to have explored these openings to inner Earth, including William Reed, who wrote Phantom of the Poles in 1906. He supported the hollow Earth theory, but without the inner sun or interior shells. More recently, in 2005, Stephen Curry expeditions planned to go to the North Pole region to explore a possible opening into inner Earth. Now, there are many current ideas regarding the hollow Earth, and those from many walks of life have looked into the hollow Earth theory and what lies within the Earth. From alien theorists, telepathic communicators, and archaeologists, Dave.
Alien theorists. Researcher David Wilcock stated in interviews there is an alliance of ancient civilizations living inside the planet. He believes these beings inhabit the inside of the Earth for long periods of time, made possible by hollow cavities on the surface of the crust. Should be inside the surface crust, which include their very own biome, replete with bacteria capable of producing its own natural light. As we know, that is bioluminescence. He goes on to claim living in these cavities allows for civilizations inside the Earth to monitor what is happening on the surface of the planet, or outer Earth. Wilcock specifically mentions the Atlanteans as one group that went underground to survive the chaos occurring on the planet, well, on the outside of the planet. Mackie.
Telepathic communicators. While even believers hold up hollow Earth theory as indeed a theory, Diane Robbins believes she has inner Earth proof. Her telepathic interactions with the civilizations living in the underground civilization of Agatha, which he describes as a network of about 120 subterranean cities. In an interview with Vice, Robbins describes both the inner Earth environment and her interactions with those who live inside the Earth. Robbins says the center of the Earth is a central sun held in place by gravity, and there's much more land than ocean in Hollow Earth. She claims the individuals are physical humans like we are, but live in peace, isolation, and seclusion, and through this, they have gained their immortality. Her message from inner Earth inhabitants: just call for peace for the planet, because we can only evolve from peace. Dave?
Interesting. SJ has just posted something interesting as a link in National Geographic.
Okay.
Archaeologists in modern-day Germany, thousands of underground tunnels dating to the Stone Age have been studied by researchers, including German archaeologist Dr. Heinrich Kusch. They stretch throughout Europe from Scotland to Turkey and do not all link up. Kusch claims these ancient highways have been found under dozens of Neolithic settlements across Europe. If you have that level of technology, you can fold space together, so you can jump from one point to another like warp drive. Then it is pretty feasible you could probably or easily have an underground or underwater base. It seems there are a lot of underwater bases where UFOs can turn into USOs and hang out. That makes sense. 70% of the Earth is, it's like this was pasted from somewhere else. 70% of the Earth is covered in water, and most importantly, there is or are no humans underneath the water, unless occasionally they go to investigate a shipwreck or something. That's 70%. That's most of the planet where you can put a base and no one is going to go mess with it. No one is going to go drop a nuclear missile on your base underwater. From an outside point of view, underwater is an ideal place to put a base on this planet that's filled with insane humans on the surface. Actually, hey, they got that right. The logical place to do is to put the base underwater where they won't mess with it or find it or discover it. Then you don't have to put signs up like you'll be shot on sight for coming into the alien base. That's a Area 51 mock-up there. You just stick the base way underwater and then you're good. Nothing to worry about. Mackie, I just want to say, remember when we had to start looking for MH370?
Yes.
And it's like, oh, they're going to find something.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Yeah. No, they're not going to find MH370, let me tell you. Mm-hmm. But if it was connected to an alien ship and they are looking in the Southern Ocean, for instance, what are they going to find? What's the likelihood? What were they actually doing? That's what I want to know.
Me too, my friend.
Yeah.
And I still want to know what happened to that plane. I really do.
What plane?
Want to know what happened to it.
There wasn't a plane.
Exactly. What plane? What? This is not the plane you're looking for. Which brings us to a secret UFO, or actually you can't really call it UAP, right? So it's I guess you could call it unidentified area phenomena.
It'd be
UUPs, yeah, secret underwater bases. UFO sightings are also very frequent by the water in today's environment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while there's not as many opinions to have secretive bases on land, that didn't stop any country in the world from making secret bases. What is very conducive to a secret base, if you have advanced technology, is having it underwater. While a secret base might stand out a bit on land, where obviously the main of it is underground, there's a ton of real estate to have a secret base underwater. Now, in order to fold space, you need to go out of sync with time and gravity, and that way your spaceship can just move out freely, and you don't have to worry about gravity. Now, in water, allegedly, some people believe that the deployment of this advanced technology is much, much easier. For the same reason, gravity interferes with a whole bunch of space exploration because of the gravity well. And certainly having water as a medium that absorbs heat and other radiation, as well as pressure and power fluxes, could be helpful potentially. I'm not saying it is, but I can see why it would be useful, especially if your craft doesn't care about pressure, water pressure, or even the vacuum of space. If you've got a craft that doesn't care, then it doesn't matter. But there's some reports of very specific underwater bases. Dave?
Yeah. California has been a UFO hotspot for years. I know because I've been out to Catalina Island, and all the people were talking about there being sightings all the time. Well, I never saw any myself. Everyone that I knew and went to school with in SoCal had mentioned someone from their family on a boat seeing something. So when it was theorized that a structure discovered 600 meters or 2,000 feet below the water, 10 kilometers or 6 miles off the coast of Malibu was in fact an alien base, and I've seen what they were looking at on Google Earth, it didn't come as that much of a surprise. The structure has been a distinct oval shape and what appears to be a flat top. It measures approximately 5 kilometers or 3 miles wide, and there also seems to be pillars holding up the main roof of the mysterious anomaly, like an entranceway to like a Greek temple, like a Greek building with those huge columns, or maybe like the White House, if you will. But it's huge. These pillars look to be spaced evenly apart, almost as if they were an entrance of sorts. The alleged alien base was first brought into the public arena when Jimmy Church, who hosts another radio show, Fade to Black, acted upon information given to him by a listener who went by the name of Maxwell. Maxwell gave coordinates from Google Earth, and I remember this show and I actually looked at it from it, that showed something he believed may be an artificial structure. Church, with his design team, obtained as many different angles of the structure as they could. Church stated that after investigating all of these angles, he very much believes this structure is indeed artificial, even going as far as to say that it could be the holy grail for ufologists. Of course, not everyone subscribes to this theory. Earthquake geologist David Schwartz, for example, states that the alien base is most likely nothing more than part of a continental shelf, further stating that he didn't see anything special in the pictures. Ben Hansen, a former FBI agent and an expert in pictures and video, also warned that people should be cautious how they interpret Google Earth images, stating they are pieced together from different sources and can often be misleading.
Absolutely. No, it's something that just came up in the chat room, and just to show everybody that we interact. I am aware of the Terramar project, but I want to share here the finer detail, which is really interesting, Dave. I hadn't made the connection with what we're discussing here, but there may very well be one. The Terramar project was self-described as an environmental non-profit organization. It was founded in 2012 in the United States by Ghislaine Maxwell.
Don't.
Yeah. A sister organization in the United Kingdom was incorporated in 2013. Terramar, which was in the US, or the project in the US, announced its closure on July 12, 2019. This was shortly after New York federal prosecutors arrested Maxwell's close associate, Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein, as we all know, was a financier and convicted sex offender who was being charged with sex trafficking crimes. Terramar was officially in the UK dissolved on December 3, 2019. Now, the Terramar project was focused, they said, that's how it was founded, on the 64% of the ocean that lie outside any single country's jurisdiction. Their mission was to create a global ocean community based around the idea of shared ownership of the global commons, also known as the high seas or international waters. That's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. So I hadn't made the connection here, but there might very well be a connection to all of this, yeah, look, again, I have to do a lot more research into it, but I hadn't made the connection between Terramar and what we're discussing today. But because it was brought up in the chat, I thought I'd quickly mention it. So thank you, Deep Impact. That's certainly a very interesting point of view there, right, Dave? I mean,
Yeah.
she's still waiting for her day in court, I guess. And now they're charged. Now sorry, to divert. Now the lady that that started this whole ball rolling out of Australia is now pressing charges against Prince Andrew as well in the States. So that is actually happening.
Just saying that Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself.
Again, do the research on the subject. There's a lot of people that didn't actually kill themselves, right?
That's right.
Now, it brings us back to the underwater base of Puffin Island in Wales. Numerous sightings of strange lights leaving and entering the sea around Puffin Island in Wales have led some ufologists to believe that the area may be home to an underwater alien base. A spate of sightings in early 1974 were particularly interesting to investigators. All spoke of not just lights, but solid objects that were seen leaving the sea near the island. UFO investigator Phil Hoyle stated that he has heard and read various unconnected reports concerning Puffin Island, and that all of them tell the same story and describe the same type of phenomenon. He also stated that alleged alien abductees close to the area have reported that their abductors were humanoid and told them they came from a base under the sea near the island. There are even more theories that the area itself may be the ancient legendary kingdom of 𝐶𝐸𝐴, and that these humanoids are their descendants. Hoyle believes that the ties to an ancient site and the current UFO activity shouldn't be downplayed, stating that according to his research, there's an 80% increase in such activity on or around ancient sites worldwide.
Yeah, wow. So the next story, this is UFO base under Lake Ontario. In December 2013, MUFON published a report from a Hamilton resident who claimed to have seen several strange glowing orbs hanging over Lake Ontario. He also claimed to have seen these orbs on the lake several times prior. And what's more, he believes that there is an alien base beneath the water. He is far from the person to have made such an assertion. In August 1981, 5 witnesses who were driving alongside Lake Ontario early one evening saw a drone-shaped craft flying over the water. They followed the craft for some time before seeing it begin to descend and enter the water, disappearing from their sight. Perhaps the stories of an underwater alien base stem from the 1977 book, The Great Lakes Triangle by Jay Gourley, who made note that many planes and people had disappeared over Lake Ontario, not to mention the many UFO sightings of the area. Another book, Underground Alien Bases, released in 2012 and written by the somewhat strange Commander X, that's got to be a pseudonym, has also perpetrated the legend of the alien base under the lake. It features within its pages several accounts of sightings on and around the lake and the assertion that an alien fortress of one kind or another lies under the water. However, none of the accounts can be verified by a secondary source and as so are left open to debate as to how reliable they are.
That's always, of course, the issue with these things, but it's enough, I think, there to do more investigation. It'd be nice to have unlimited funds, Dave, and be able to investigate. Right? Because I mean, the things you see this now. I mean, people that have very deep pockets. I mean, there's this Oak Island and there's this Skinwalker Ranch. They go and assemble a team of highly qualified, not just scientists, but across the board as experts. and they just go for it, go hell for leather. I think that's awesome. I think that is really awesome. But anyway, so look, it brings us to Flight Corridor to Underwater Base North Island, New Zealand. North Island in New Zealand has been witness to many strange objects entering the sea, with activity stretching out to some of the offshore islands around the area. UFO researchers state that the area is a hotspot for such activity, with locals claiming that the area is a flight corridor to an underwater base for the strange craft that exists there. Between January and March 1995, there were dozens of sightings of these objects coming and going in the area. These were not limited to nighttime, with many of the objects being witnessed during the daylight hours. One particular daylight sighting on March 9, 1995 stands out. It began with two fishermen who witnessed a bright silver ball-shaped craft that seemed to glow or pulse as it moved and emitted a strange red stream behind it. The two men saw the object for less than 10 seconds before it vanished from their sight. Around 2 minutes later, however, there were sightings of what seemed to be the same object by the control towers at both Hamilton International and Rotorua airports. Further supporting the incident were several reports that were phoned in to a local radio station from concerned residents, who all described a very similar object in the bright, sunny sky.
Pacific Ocean humming is actually marine life breaking wind. Is an unusual one. In the case of the alleged underwater alien base in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, the mainstream scientific explanation is actually stranger than that of ufologists. According to a research team led by Simon Bowman Pickering, hyphenated, the low humming sound that has had people searching for bases and installations for over 2 decades is nothing more than sea creatures releasing gases from their swim bladders, essentially breaking wind. UFO researchers have almost entirely rejected this assertion. Yeah, I know, right? The humming has been studied and debated since 1991 by scientists and UFO investigators alike, when it was first observed by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. Ufologists argue that rather than being a sound of the natural world, these sounds are more akin to those electrically powered, artificial structures. To them, this is proof of the existence of top-secret underwater bases, which are quite probably extraterrestrial, given the advanced technology that would be required to build and operate such an underwater building. Other theories include that the humming could be generated by marine vessels or an unknown geological phenomena. I think there's a message in that for all of us. Good luck, science.
Isn't it? Wasn't swamp gas? Now we have
it's fish fighting.
Releasing. It's funny. Anything that isn't odd. Let's just take that. Let's take just the swim bladders. Gas, releasing gas from swim bladders. Silence. Underwater alien. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm still laughing.
No, right. Underwater alien base at Guantanamo Bay. Very topical. Well, not so much topical anymore, I guess, these days. According to a former U.S. Marine who served at Guantanamo Bay in the late 1960s, there is an underwater alien base off the Cuban coast. Furthermore, the Marine claimed that of the many UFO sightings of strange objects going in and out of the water, the U.S. military has even managed to capture several on film. He also states that he and his colleagues were under strict instructions not to talk about the strange activity they witnessed there. The Marine claimed that the craft he witnessed appeared to be made of a dull metal with a series of blue lights. When they would enter the water, the blue lights could still be witnessed but would grow fainter and fainter, suggesting to him that whatever the object was, it was descending deeper into the water. Perhaps coincidentally, around 140 kilometers, about 90 miles, north of the U.S. base in Gulf Breeze, Florida.
Gulf Breeze, yep.
There have been several UFO sightings that seem to match the descriptions of the craft as described by the unnamed Marine. It may suggest they are originating from the same place. One particular sighting came in November 1987, when Ed Walters claimed that he witnessed a strange object fly overhead from the coast. It emitted a bright blue light that trapped him in its beam. He stated that while he was caught in it, everything around him was blue and he could not move. Walters did manage to take several pictures of the craft. Hundreds of witnesses came forward to say that they too had seen the strange object that evening. There is debate over the credibility of this account. MUFON seemed to believe the sighting was genuine, while others have stated that the photographs were obvious fakes. In a strange twist, years after Walters' claims, an investigation into his story was said to have discovered a model craft very similar to the object that Walters stated he had photographed in a house where he once resided. Supporters of his claims, however, argue that this model is an obvious plant to discredit him. And we know this happens all the time, of course.
Yeah, at no point did he say, I tried to make something so I'd remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Increased UFO sightings at Lake Erie, Cleveland, Ohio. The 2011 book, Erie, Tales of the Unexplained from Northwest Pennsylvania by Robin Swoop, examines and investigates numerous MUFON reports. Many of these reports speak of UFOs seen crashing into the water of Lake Erie. One particular report from 1988 alleges a strange craft landed on the lake. When it was iced over, the landing was witnessed by Sheila and Harry Baker, who made a report to the local Coast Guard. As the mysterious craft landed, there were strange sounds heard coming from the ice, as well as a series of blue and red lights from the craft itself. There also appeared to be several strange triangular objects jettisoned from the descending object. These triangles seemed to move purposefully around in all directions along the icy surface of the lake. Suddenly, the sounds on the ice stopped, and the craft and the mysterious triangles vanished, suggesting that they had indeed found their way below the ice and under the water. According to a report in 2007 that ran on News Channel 5 in Cleveland, the area had seen no less than 20 UFOs in only 2 years. There are a great many videos on YouTube that claim to show some of these UFOs over Cleveland. Local UFO researcher Richard Lee stated that the UFOs seem to take particular interest in any new building projects undertaken in the area. Once a new building begins, according to Lee, there is usually a UFO sighting in the immediate vicinity not long after. Are they coming from their alleged base in Lake Erie?
Good question.
Who knows?
See, this is the funny thing, though, as well. In fact, you will find a lot of lakes here mentioned as well. In fact, all the major lakes are like massive lakes, deep lakes, Loch Ness even, right? Seem to be a hotbed of very strange activity.
What about that the large Russian freshwater lake, Mickey, where
that's
they
the one
found the underwater? Yeah.
That's right now, my friend. You so Lake Baikal, which is the scene of an underwater battle with aliens.
3 minutes.
Apparently,
Your time starts now.
I can do it. And the ancient Lake Baikal in Siberia is said to be the deepest lake on the planet. It has a history of UFO activity as well as alleged sightings of aliens underneath the water by Russian military divers. The sightings date back to the Soviet era, but since the end of the Cold War, the reports have come into the public domain. Many of the accounts tell of a huge mothership hovering above the expanse of water, and even of humanoid beings in strange shiny suits climbing down from these ships and into the water. Former Soviet naval officer and ufologist Vladimir Ajasha claimed to have leaked top-secret files relating to an incident in 1982. He stated that military divers who were on standard training exercise in the area witnessed huge underwater craft that moved with a speed they had never seen before. Several days later, the story took an even more bizarre twist when divers witnessed several strange beings under the water. They wore shiny suits and what appeared to be a small advanced oxygen mask. According to the alleged leaked documents, the unit was ordered to capture these strange creatures. When they attempted to do so, however, they were fought off with what appeared to be an advanced sonar weapon that ultimately killed 3 of the 7 divers. The remaining 4, now terrified and injured from their attempts to detain the strange crew, retreated and made their report to the superiors. In 2009, photographs taken from aboard the International Space Station seemed to show two distinct saucer-shaped anomalies in the region, fueling further speculation that an extraterrestrial presence was under Lake Baikal, and even the possibility that these saucers were the craft that had been witnessed nearly 3 decades earlier by the Soviet diving unit.
And you did it. Yeah, I've seen the Google Earth time period photos, and there's two circular rounds. It looked like they've been etched in or cut into the ice, which normally in a flowing lake, you get those in a flowing river, but you don't go get that in stagnant fresh water. It isn't a thing. So, yeah, they're plainly visible. You can see them, they're there. And, yeah, good luck with whatever you think it is. Good luck with how you explain it to yourself.
There's the music. Next
Sure
week
is.
we'll talk about the Bermuda Triangle, guys. You can't have a show like this without the Bermuda Triangle.
You cannot. And all the other triangles. So there's problems of life that can't be solved by triangles. Catch Jer show after hours. Stay tuned for his show. Next week, catch our show again. And in the meantime, stay safe and make all the right decisions. Take care, everyone. This is David